And Robin, Dr. Ritterman is back. Hi.
How does it sound now?
Amazing.
It worked. Nothing like having a 23-year-old son to help you. Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you. Lots of vitamin D. Yeah, Katie, we're actually going to talk about vitamin D today with Dr. Ritterman. So first of all, what do you want me to call you? I call you Robin.
Robin is fine. I am happy.
Okay.
I actually feel like if my patients, if I can call them by their first name, I feel comfortable with them calling me by my first name if they feel comfortable.
Okay, that's great. Great. So let's officially start here. A lot of people out there have heard me kind of talking randomly about immunity, but let's have you start. I pointed out that, the vaccine's coming out, which is great, but not everybody's getting it right away. And in general, we can talk about building our immunity, especially over the winter months, because, cold and flus come out. And today I invited you on Wisdom Wednesday to talk about natural ways that we can boost our own immunity, really simple ways, not just the what, but the how. So, um, what do you have to say about that, Dr. Goodman?
Well, you did ask me when I spoke to you before to just talk a little bit about what the immune system is. So,
Yeah.
just really briefly, the immune system is the part of our body that helps us to fight infection, to fight any foreign invaders that come our way, whether it's even pollen or, anything, and help to keep us healthy. And so, that's primarily white blood cells and antibodies, but, there are various chemicals that our bodies secrete and, lymph nodes and, several organs that are involved. And I mean, how do you know when you have a good immune system? Is, number one, when you don't get sick all that often, but also a good immune system includes being able to have a good response so that, this theory that, oh, take an aspirin, take a Tylenol, take an ibuprofen if you have a fever because, that's bad. I mean, that's your immune system's response. If a mosquito bites you and you get a big red welt, that's your immune system's response saying, I'm fighting this sort of poison that's, come into me. So important to remember that our response can be a positive thing. If you get sick, you get a fever and you get over it within a few days and your body doesn't, you don't need any external treatments, that means you have a good immune system. You get a cold every so often and you get over it. What's a not very good immune system? When you get sick frequently, or when those illnesses last a long time, or when your wounds don't heal well, or etc. So, I mean, there's so many important things that we can do for our immune system. And, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I do a lot with herbs and supplements. But, first we have to talk about lifestyle because that is so important. I mean, you talked about it being winter, and yes, we're not getting exposed to sun as much as we should be, or we could be if we lived someplace else. So yes, we need to think about our vitamin D. But what about our sleep? I mean, there are studies that say that lack of sleep actually lowers your antibody levels in your body, and that getting sleep actually increases the chemicals in your body that help to fight infections. So very important thing that we often overlook in our exceedingly busy lives, and we need to go do just one more thing or stay up. I'm really guilty because I was watching the election returns last night and stayed up too late, and so
Yeah.
I didn't get enough sleep, so I really have to make up for it in the next few days. I have to be very diligent about that. But just really important thing to remember. And then of course stress, which I know that you, Julie, do so much work with all your clients and in dealing with stress. But there are just, we know very clearly how stress reduces your immune system, how those sort of hormones that get secreted when you're stressed out just lowers your ability to fight infections. So I mean, we do live in a stressful world. It is stressful to live in a COVID world where we are isolated and, scared and people are sick or you're just afraid because you had an exposure. So very important to be doing the kinds of stress reduction, the kinds of things that you can talk about so well with people, whether it's meditation or yoga or, whatever. So, I mean, I think those things are so, so important. And exercise. I mean, lots of research on the importance of exercising in building your immune system. And especially these days, most people aren't going to go to a gym, but when you can be outside, I mean, you've got so many benefits of being outside and, let's see, the, clearly I have to take this phone out of my bedroom so that it does not become an issue anymore. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So what else? Oh yeah, just exercise. So, being outside gives you everything from the exposure to nature that's so important to us and, moving our bodies and again, getting your heart rate up a little. But I will say one thing about exercise. People can
Hmm.
overexercise and
Absolutely.
that can really deplete your immune system. So be careful about that. And I really don't think it's healthy to be running marathons or these ultra marathons. It really can deplete your immune system. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I guess I need to back up and say, as a naturopathic physician, I believe that everything has to be individualized to the person. That some people, the right amount of exercise is different for every person. The right amount of sleep is different for every person. And if you do know someone that can exist on 6 hours of sleep, it doesn't mean you can. And most people don't get enough sleep. But, so just think about moderate exercise, but definitely getting your heart rate up because increasing the circulation absolutely increases the flow of of all those antibodies, blood cells, and it just sort of washes away a lot of those toxins. So very important to think about that. So, I mean, I could talk forever, so you should jump in with any questions. I mean, diet is definitely high on my list, but do you have questions before I can talk for plenty of time?
So just to review, sleep, stress reduction, and exercise are three awesome things we can do automatically.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Just
Mm-hmm.
and really can make a difference. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Um, about the sleep, I got one of these jobbies and I'm not like down with, I mean, a lot of people who know me, I'm not really techie. I don't like things attached to me, but this has actually given me a lot of information about sleep and
mm,
knowing how much sleep I have been getting, um, and knowing when I need to, rein it in and get more. And also, it tells me how many steps I get. So, kind of my activity and whether I want to know it or not, it will tell me how inactive I've been.
and that is really important. I mean, years ago I had a patient come into me and those were in the days of the Fitbit and she had no idea. Her first day was 960 steps. You're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
get 10,000 and just
Yep.
by wearing that, it helped her to see, how you can take more steps and in the days when people went to their offices and you could park further away or whatever it was. But yes, so all those things. I mean, I have to say that I think there's some real pluses in knowing about your sleep. I am still a little hesitant about the idea of like wearing a computer like 24 hours and
I
while
know.
you sleep, I really don't love like when people's cell phones are like right by their bed necessarily, so I don't really know what that means, but what I'd really say is wear it when you need it and then maybe take some breaks from it too just because who knows what all that
Definitely.
computer stuff is doing to us.
I hear you screaming. I totally get it. And I'm definitely one to like put the cell phone away. And my husband will totally razz me and say, get your tinfoil hat on and keep the aliens out too. Just understand me, love me. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I
Yeah.
totally agree, especially with the cell phones away from you at night. Who knows what that's emitting?
Right, and right by
And
your
it's
head,
just so
people
easy
sleep with them under your
to
pillow. I suggest not doing that. And again, I don't
no.
have any data. I will admit that that is my opinion. I don't have data to back that up. I do have data on other things, but
Mhm.
that's my thought on that. And then, of course, we have to talk about diet, and diet is so
Right.
important for our immune system. Um, and sadly, there are absolutely studies showing that too much sugar really weakens your immune system. I mean,
Mhm.
high levels, I think there was a study that said 75 grams of sugar, and that's a fair amount. That's like 2 cans of soda. But 75
Mhm.
grams of sugar actually weakened those blood cells for up to 5 hours afterwards. That's
Yeah.
pretty, and that was just measured. And of course, we know that elevated blood sugar in people with diabetes increases their risk of infections. And just in
Mhm.
general, every kind of infection from sort of a vaginitis to, urinary tract to respiratory infections to colitis, there's so many different things. So really watching the sugar doesn't mean you can't have any sugar again, but of course that does vary on the individual person. And refined carbohydrates, white flour and I don't really think that honey or natural sugar is much better for you. It doesn't mean you can't have
Oh
small amounts. Again,
no.
unless you really have a blood sugar problem or diabetes, small amounts and eaten with a healthy diet. But just it's so important that we lower our sugar intake. And then of course, what really improves your immune system? Probiotics. And so, before we even talk about taking probiotics, I mean, we shouldn't really need to take probiotics if we have the right diet. If we have the right diet and if our digestive systems are working well, our bodies create probiotics from foods that are prebiotic, so lots of fiber, but also eating those foods that have some probiotic, those if you can tolerate dairy, eating yogurt or drinking kefir or fermented foods like sauerkraut and miso, and I think tempeh has some, and
And
kombucha,
kimchi.
So, what did you say,
Mhm.
Julie? Yeah.
Kimchi.
Kimchi. Yes, yes, kimchi. Absolutely. So all of those foods very important, but fiber is so important for those microbes to live in your gut. So
Mm.
I recently heard and then researched a little bit more that there was a study that people who eat 30 different types of plants a week have a more varied gut bacteria population and actually a healthier microbiome. So, and I think this is a
Huh.
challenge for all of us. So, what does that mean to eat 30 different types of foods? I sat down and thought about it. So, I make my own granola in the morning. So, it's got oats and it's got almonds and pecans and what else? It has sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. So, that's 5 plants right there. But also think
Mhm.
about the spices you eat. I put some cinnamon in, that's a plant, and I put some cardamom in, and I put some ginger. So that's like 8 plants right there that I've
Mhm.
eaten in the morning. So when you're eating a salad, if there is a mix of different kinds of lettuces, if you're putting in lots of different greens or, whatever it is, your cucumber, your mushrooms, your, different, radicchio, different colors, all of that. Not eating rice and broccoli for dinner every single night, but having rice one day or barley if you tolerate gluten or quinoa or, different grains, eating different vegetables, a mix of vegetables, all of that
Mhm.
together, you can really add up fruit. Are you having your, one banana for breakfast every single day, or are you eating some
Mhm.
berries and, some apples when it's the season, or whatever. I do think that it is wonderful to sit down and think about how many different vegetables and spices. How could I forget spices? I mean,
Mhm.
turmeric and ginger, as I said, cinnamon. Garlic is so important for your immune system. Onions, so important for your
Mhm.
immune system. So think about, and so it doesn't mean that there has to be huge quantities, but the variety is really important. Of course, there does have to be huge quantities, I think, of fruits and vegetables, especially vegetables of
Right.
all different colors. But those
Mhm.
antioxidants, I mean, we've known for many, many, many years that taking a beta carotene or vitamin A pill is not at all the same as eating foods that have mixed carotenes in them, carrots or anything, with various, orange and red colors and just so you get much much more. Many of the studies that said that beta carotene didn't do anything, it's because beta carotene isn't really the important carotene, it's the mixed carotenoids in there. So and then when you look at the studies you see, oh, much better. So very, I do think that what we get in our food, and of course the quality of the food, is very important also.
Mhm.
It's very hard in I think the Northeast in the winter and in America in general to try to figure out what is the best quality. Do I buy organic, but I have to get the food from Mexico or Peru? I think that those are questions that we all have to make our decisions on. And
Mhm.
there is that list of the dirty dozen. If people don't know it, that's wonderful. And the clean 15, the most important 12 foods to eat organic, and the foods that are least likely to be contaminated. So all of those things, very important. Um, so really, think about a mix. Obviously, it depends. Some people can need to eat a lower carbohydrate diet, but I think whole grains, I think beans, very important if you tolerate them well. So much nutrition in them, and all of those foods um, have important components that help to build your immune system. So, just really important. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take probiotics. I think many people, it's fine to take a probiotic, and I have seen there's no question that probiotics can make a difference in digestive diseases and in preventing infections. I've seen it make a difference in eczema. I mean, so many aspects of our bodies have to do with what the right balance of bacteria in your digestive tract. And when people come to see me, it doesn't really matter what the illness is, especially a chronic illness. If their digestive tract isn't working well, I think it's just so important that we get
Mhm.
that working well so that they can
Yeah.
absorb the right foods. And so think about that, how is your digestion? Um, and everybody, some people need different diets or different things than others. But in general, I think, these are keys. Oh, and good fats. That's another thing. Very, very important. So nuts, if you can eat those, and omega-3s, if you can eat fish, if you're not a vegetarian, or you can get omega-3s from flax seeds. Yes, I put, oh, that's another thing in my granola, in my cereal in the morning. I put ground flax seeds every morning, which is a great
Mhm.
source of fiber, really good to prevent breast cancer, lots of things very good about the ground flax seeds. So, uh, good fats, very, very important. Staying, obviously, we've known for a long time about staying away from trans fats, but um, really getting more fats from plant sources if you can, a little bit less of the animal fats, making a big difference.
Great.
What else? You have more questions?
Let's see. I'm gonna check online to see if anyone had any questions.
Oh, by the way,
Um,
beverages, green tea, but coffee is not so evil. And if you can tolerate a cup of coffee in terms of the caffeine, not everybody can tolerate it, but I mean, lots of
mhm.
antioxidants there. Same thing with, chocolate, cacao. I mean, lots of antioxidants there. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, not when it's loaded up with sugar, but
Right. Mhm.
everything in moderation, very important.
Great. Let's see. I posed a question about how other people strengthen their immune system, and we have a couple of comments. Lots of vitamin D. Um, let's
Yes.
see. Echinacea, garlic tea, vitamin C, kombucha, green tea, and infrared mat.
Mm, yes, I think Katie wrote that. I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. I
Hmm.
haven't used it, but I've known other people who've really liked that. And I wanted to say that there was a recent study that, not about infrared mats, but about vitamins that actually showed, let's see, um, what were the things? It was um, probiotics. People, they sort of looked at people who had COVID symptoms and they looked at their supplements and they found, and this, this is really interesting because this is true more in women than in men. It didn't really hold up in men. But in both in Great Britain, in the United States, and in Sweden, probiotics reduce the risk of COVID symptoms by 14%, omega-3 fatty acids, so fish oil, by 12%. A multivitamin reduced the
Hmm.
risk of COVID symptoms by 13%, and vitamin D 9%. So all
Hmm.
of those were shown. So those probiotics, omega-3s, multivitamin, vitamin D, all people who were taking those and had some COVID, they were much less likely to get sick with COVID. So very
Wow.
important to think about that. And we've known the vitamin D for a long time. I am
Hmm.
not in the camp of very high doses of vitamin D. I also think that not all vitamin D testing is as accurate as it should be. It's way less
Hmm.
accurate in African Americans.
Hmm.
I can't speak to that, why that, but I do know that that's true.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but nonetheless, 1,000, 2,000, sometimes, more if we really do see low levels. And something went by about MCT oil. Can you read?
Yeah, that just came up. Robin said, "Would this be considered a healthy fat? I'm on a keto diet, and it seems to be recommended." She says she uses coconut oil for cooking, but would MCT be better to use?
Well, there are MCT. MCT is medium chain triglycerides. So our fats
Hmm.
are, made up of many different kinds of fatty acids, and that's one of them. And so there are a lot of MCTs in coconut oil, and coconut oil does have some other interesting properties. It actually has some antibacterial and antiviral
Hmm.
activities. It has lauric acid, which is very interesting. But the MCTs can potentially increase fat burning and can lower your appetite. So I would
Hmm.
probably, because again, I would probably do a variety. I think the MCT oils are good for your immune system, and I
Hmm.
think so is the coconut oil, although I do like a little balance of the fats if you can. Not just in
Right.
oils, but again in nuts and seeds.
Yeah, I know, Robin. I've done keto before, part of the CrossFit thing, and I actually do love MCT oil in coffee.
Mmm.
It's luxurious tasting, and it does kind of suppress the appetite, which is, if that's what you want, that's cool. It's yummy.
Yes.
We also
Yes.
have another comment here from Isabella. She asked, "What do you think of prepared food services like Freshly or Blue Apron, especially in a rush schedule? What are some ways we can easily add variety in our diet?"
I I I feel good. I mean, I can't say that I've actually really studied the different food services, but I am a big
Hmm.
proponent in the fact that we need to figure out how to get healthy food in the way that works for ourselves. And
Right.
so, I mean, I do think that getting healthy prepared foods or getting these food services to help us is very important. I mean, if you're working and you're done with work and you have kids and you get home at 5 or 6 o'clock, you can't start making a really good dinner. I mean, my house, we try to cook, 3 times a week. I have a wife. The two of us both cook. We both cook on Sunday. One of us cooks on Tuesday. One of us cooks on Thursday. And then we eat.
So great.
We can't cook 5 days a week. And that's now my kids are grown. But forget it. When my kids were little, there's no way. But you make a pot of soup on Sunday and then you freeze it. And then, some of the lentil soup or the black bean soup or whatever. So I am a proponent of those food services and even of healthy. I mean, if you can't make fresh vegetables, frozen vegetables can be good. They're way better than
Oh
canned,
yeah.
and absolutely.
Mhm.
So use those. Just have the vegetables, but frozen vegetables, some of those Amy's things. I mean, I will say that not everything in a health food store is healthy. So don't think just because you get something in a health food store, it is healthy. Prepared at home is usually better, but as long as you read the label, I think it's very good to do those things. And if you can afford those food services coming, those food boxes, go for it. Absolutely.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Well, let me check the time. That is pretty good
Mm-hmm.
timing. We're gonna keep this up. So the way this works, Robin, is that I will download it, edit it, post it again on my Facebook page, and I'll also put it on our Mountain View YouTube channel for people to watch later. Uh, we can keep the questions coming
Great.
afterwards, and
Yes.
maybe I'll just kind of clue you in if there are any questions that come up that are directed to you, and we can keep the conversation going on after our interview.
Sure. Absolutely.
How's
So,
that sound?
yes. No, there's
Great.
so much
Well,
to say,
thank
but
you.
thank you. I'm sorry for the
Yeah,
early technical challenges, so I'm thrilled I got on. Um,
totally expected at this point. This is our third one, so yeah, we're all learning so much. I appreciate you trusting the process and working through whatever we needed to work
yes.
through. So,
Well,
and I
thank you. Thank
really
you for
appreciate you
doing
coming.
this, not just this one, but
Hmm.
doing this whole series and doing this work because
Yeah.
it's such important work to help us figure out how to stay healthy.
Right. And
Hmm.
nice to see everybody out there in Facebook land and to get some comments. This is the most comments we've had. So this is really exciting. So thank you, Robin. I will
Thank
see you
you.
probably tomorrow at work.
Have a healthy day, everyone. Hmm.
You too. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye
Oh,
bye.
bye, everybody over there.
Hmm.